Welcome back to the Luminary Podcast. I'm your host, Annie Perry, professional spirit, angelic, galactic channel, psychic, seer, quantum healer, multidimensional being just like you. And I'm so glad to be here with you again. This is our, biannual eclipse season episode. For whatever reason, the eclipses affect me personally the most during the October eclipses. And I think it's because, maybe it's so close to Scorpio, and Scorpio is my rising sign. Usually the eclipse, if it doesn't land in the beginning of Scorpio season, we definitely feel the after effects in Scorpio. And it tends to be one of the most transformative times for me personally. But we do also have an annual eclipse season that happens in April every year. And let me tell you what, the April 2024 eclipse is like the one. It's like the one during our lifetimes. It's like the one during this 7-year Ascension acceleration cycle. Like, you want to put that bad boy on your calendar, because the eclipse portal that we are walking through, that we are inside of right now, and we are just about to have the first eclipse on Saturday, October 14th. This is just the little sister of the big one coming in April. So you want to have that on your calendar. It's going to be extremely life-changing. It's basically like the midway point of this 7-year Ascension acceleration cycle. Honestly, of course, for me as an alien communicator, I hope that disclosure happens. I hope that all of my friends can finally join us and, start teaching us, and we can start learning from them. But who knows? I think just a lot of change is going to happen during probably between now and then. But then after April of 2024, it's almost going to be like, if you don't know something is changing on this planet, you are actively, kind of putting your head in the sand. So I'm always excited to see what's going to happen for the highest and greatest good of all. Right now, of course, there's a lot happening on this planet. And while it no longer evokes fear in me, I'm very aware of it. My guides are always informing me so that I don't have to take in too much of the news. Just keep in mind that the news has tons of distortions, tons of falsities. Now I'm at the point where I can read something and I'm like, that was a blatant lie. And my channel, my Blue Flame channel, is just seeing through what is the blatant lie, what is skewed, and what is the true information, because there are things happening around the world on this planet, and all of it is Ascension related. And yet all of it has to do with humanity and our choices. We have free will. We get to choose war or peace. We get to choose hatred or love for others, and especially for ourselves. Something that has come through so strongly for me in the past 3 weeks is this realization that as we begin to enter into the very first levels of the fourth density of consciousness, that these levels are not so much about learning how to love others unconditionally. It's really starting with step 1. Can you love yourself unconditionally? If we look at Yeshua's journey through the lens of the Law of One and how they were able to communicate his story and his path, which is just one of the most famous human stories, right? I don't think he's that famous on any other planets. There's probably other people, other ascended masters that are way more famous, especially in the Orion constellation. They're not talking about Yeshua. They're talking about all of the other wanderers and ascended masters that have come through those planets and have been of service and assistance. But if we look at his life, and we recognize what Ra says about him, I'm going to say him individually, even though I do believe at this point he's a group consciousness, especially with the Magdalens. But if we look at his journey, he was trying to graduate from the fourth density of consciousness into the fifth. And that is where, in this moment of time and space, he currently resides. And because he was trying to graduate, he had to find a task that would enable him to unconditionally love people who absolutely hated him. That was the task. That was the graduation thesis. So I think that as much as we want to just be beings of unconditional love for all on the planet, really the reason we get tripped up so much is because we haven't even taken the time to unconditionally love ourselves, first and foremost. And if we look at our own healing journeys and all of the emotional intelligence that we have developed over the last 3-4 years, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the way that I grew up, we didn't talk about things like therapy or talking about your emotions or processing or healing or, that you could have trauma. We didn't know about any of that stuff. And yet over the last 3-4 years, it's almost become like mainstream. And when we look into our own personal journeys through healing and awareness and consciousness and spiritual growth, so much of it always leads us in one giant circle back to, can you unconditionally love yourself? Can you set a boundary with others that reflects love for yourself? Because once you've done it from that vibration, instead of a vibration of being wounded or being hurt or wanting to put up your big spiky walls, and I know because I've been there so many times, when you do it from the frequency of I love myself, it's a completely different experience. It's almost like it totally diffuses the situation. And it feels like, who can argue with that? Who can argue with someone who is trying to do their best to take care of themselves? As we go through this ascension process, you are going to feel all of these different journeys and threads and realizations leading you back to the one truth. Love is the only thing that carries you over the threshold home. That's it. The mind can only take you so far. Love picks you up. It sweeps you off your feet. It carries you over the threshold home. And it has to start from one place and one place only, because you are your own universe. You are your YOUniverse. You are creating it. All of the love that you will ever experience in your life starts in your heart chakra. It starts in the center of your chest. And I'm not talking about and I'm not talking about people pleasing, and I'm not talking about love that comes from obligation, i.e. the people that you were told as a child you should love this person, and so you said, I love you, but really it was just out of obligation, it was just out of programming, it wasn't the true activation of the heart chakra. That feeling you get at the center of your chest, have you ever experienced it? I've been walking different souls through my level 1 psychic channeling mentorship. And it's like at first there is this closed center, and it's almost like they're that flower, the bud is still closed. And as we go through each session and as they practice at home, you continue to see this opening in their heart chakra as it comes back to life, flooding them with this new sensation. And then their lives start to change. Some of them don't even work at the same places that they worked when they started. Some of them don't live in the same places that they lived when they started. Things in their lives start to change. Things in your life starts to change when you open that heart center. You start to feel true unconditional love. It can only come from you first, because you are creating your YOUniverse. The reason I bring it up is because the number one theme, the number one thing that you should take away and you should focus on for the next 3 weeks during this eclipse season, or really during any time when you feel like I'm going through an intense change, I'm going through an identity change, I'm shifting internally, things are being shed. Maybe you get laid off from the job, maybe you get out of the relationship and you're standing there wondering, where's my North Star? Where do I go from here? I promise you, it's not outwards, it's always inwards. You will go in this vast, beautiful circle, and you will always be coming back to knock on that same door at your heart chakra, at your heart center. Love is the only thing that carries you all the way home. during this eclipse season, the number one thing that you need to do and you need to schedule is self-care. The care of self. Taking care of yourself. Practicing that self-love. On this planet, we have been taught to hate ourselves. To think that self-care is selfish or stuck up or snobby or for rich people or for people who have too much time on their hands or for people who are deeply wounded and are just trying to spiritually bypass. This is the number one thing that has come through for this eclipse season. Your multidimensional self, we just talked about it on episode 112, your multidimensional self is at work, clearing your lower levels. And they are communicating right now. The number one thing you need to do is to take care of yourself. I've got this. I've got this. The purging's already happening. The clearing's already happening. The shedding is already happening. I want you to imagine that your body is covered in mud. Right? I've called this like the clay people before. This is how Spirit shows me humanity. There is these clay people, which is all of us, living in our 3D matrix, thinking that we are clay. In this ascension process is washing away all of the clay. All of a sudden, underneath, there is a being of light that begins to shine through. However you want to use your light is completely up to you, but that is the base fabric of every single soul in this entire universe, whether they're, the fucking Gorgons living over in the Orion system, giving us a hard time, whether they're that entity that I cleared out of the crack house down the street, whatever soul it is, the base fabric is pure light. You get to choose what you do with that light. But underneath what's being washed away in all of us right now is the clay, right? The 3D being washed away. You're actually so much more than you thought. You're actually so much more than the limitations of linear time and space. You're actually so much more than whatever job you have. You're so much more than just a wife or a husband or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You're so much more than just a son or a daughter. You are so much more. And you are also the creator of your universe. It starts with you. In order for us to create a new reality on this planet, in order for us to experience the new earth, it's coming through us, through you. And that new earth exists in the fourth density of consciousness. That is the fourth energy center. That is the heart chakra center. So opening and activating it is essential, and at the center of it is the deepest, most genuine self-love you can ever imagine. It will take your breath away to finally see yourself the way that the rest of the universe sees you. I can't tell you how many dimensions I have traveled to. How many ascended masters I have spoken to. And their words, their vibration are always, I love you, I love you, I love you. I see you for the unique fractal of the all-knowing that you are. I see the ways that you have unique gifts, unique personalities, unique creations to add to our universe. As Abraham Hicks says, you are standing at the leading edge of creation, creating things that have never existed before. You are the creator of your universe. Beloved, you are the creator of your universe. I know that can be scary when you've been taught the opposite your entire life, but somewhere in your soul, there's this clear knowing. Maybe she's telling me the truth. And it's so hard to accept because all I've known is the opposite my entire life. That's the shedding. That is the portal you are walking through right now during this eclipse season. Whatever was not true, whatever was not aligned with highest truth, is being washed away, and the truth is being revealed, and the truth is so beautiful and so breathtaking and so devastating all at the same time. And I would say that no matter what perspective you have, when you start to reach out into the cosmos with your heart and with your mind, with your blue flame or your violet flame, you will find the same thing everywhere. Wow, this is so beautiful and kind of devastating at the same time. It's so much more than I ever imagined from my limited perspective. And yet, I can feel the chills running up my spine. I can feel the goosebumps telling me I am connected to all of it. And at the same time, I'm also creating my YOUniverse. Self-care is going to be so important over the next 3 weeks. Your multidimensional self has got you. They have got you. They have got you. They have got you. They are clearing the lower levels. You're going to experience feelings of frustration, of anger as these lower levels are purged. Why? Because the lower levels are primarily fear-based, and there is a lot of deep hurt that happens when we live in the fear-band frequency. There is so much wounding that happens. People's words that hurt, their energy that hurts. The way they get frustrated with you or disappointed with you or demand things of you, the way that they speak to you, the way that they talk down to you, the way that they were short with you. There is a lot of hurt that happens. And wherever there has been hurt, frustration and anger is the agitation of hurt. Right? You hurt something again and again and again, it starts to create a friction and agitation. All of a sudden you have heat there, and that's frustration, and that's anger, and that's you getting irritated, and that's you getting short with someone, and that's you getting impatient with things. You're not new here. You're not new here. You're not new to this planet. You're not a little child. Please do not let your children listen to this podcast because I do drop the F-bomb very unexpectedly. You're not new here. You've been here for what? 20, 30, 40, 50 years. All of that time to create the friction, the frustration, the anger. All of those things that need to be purged out. There's deep wounding in there. There's deep hurt. There's that person you've got to let go of. There's that relationship that has to change. It has to transmute. It's never comfortable. But once you start to expect it and you start to keep your eye on the prize, which is, if I can transmute this, it will be better than I could have ever imagined. It will be so much better than it has ever been. There is always something positive, love-based for you to look forward to on the other side of transition, on the other side of transformation, on the other side of transmutation. There is an outcome, an evolution that happens. Keep your eye on the prize during the next 3 weeks. When I come out of this transformation, it's going to be better than I could have ever imagined. And if you can set that intention right now, before this first eclipse, or whenever you listen to this, whatever transition you're going through, set the intention right now. It's going to come out and turn out better than I could have ever imagined. And I want you to imagine that you are throwing the ball to your spirit team and saying, I know you've already got it. I know you've already got it, because if I try to do it all by myself in this 3D reality, I'm not going to get very far. If I try to control all of the outcomes for the changes that are happening in my life right now, I'm not going to get very far. There's too much higher light on this planet. There's too much of the higher dimensions already on this planet. You doing everything through the 3D doesn't really work anymore. But if you choose to trust your higher levels who operate in the higher dimensions, who operate in the higher frequencies, that's their playground, that's what they do best, then you don't have to worry about what do I need to do? How do I create it? How do I get the best outcome? They're saying all you need to do is take care of yourself deeply over the next 3 weeks, over this next transition that you're going through. Schedule the time to take care of yourself. It looks different for everyone. I won't tell you to have a bubble bath. If you want to have a bubble bath, have a bubble bath. We all know what self-care looks like for us. It's the things that we want to do when we don't want to be around other people, right? And a really big part of this is spending time alone. If you're a social butterfly, letting go of some of those engagements where you just feel intuitively like that's going to drain me, that's not aligned for me, I really need to take care of myself right now. Allowing yourself to retract some of your energy so that you can do that. Letting go of some of that. Honestly, the super high social butterfly, that tends to be someone who's a people pleaser and they really only exist in other people's perceptions. And there's a deep fear that if I'm not around all of these people all of the time, that there will be no perception of me, that I will disappear, that I won't have any value or meaning, that I don't actually matter, that I may even not even exist unless I'm around all of these people all of the time who validate my existence. So that might be something for you to look at if you're a heavy social butterfly or the idea of canceling plans gives you anxiety. But if you are a millennial, most likely you love to cancel plans and you love to spend time, at home on the couch decompressing from the weight of the 3D reality. Let's talk about that for a second. Also, that was just the introduction. You're welcome. Hi, I'm glad you're here. Something that I said recently, I think it may have been on Instagram, was that the 3D reality is very heavy, right? It's very heavy. If you ever watch NDEs, right, near-death experiences, almost all of them say, like, the moment I left my body, I felt like all of this weight was off of me. I felt like I had been squeezed into an outfit that was way too tight. And I felt myself expand, and I felt myself free and light. Right? It's dense here. It's dense here. It's heavy here. These bodies are so restrictive of our true nature, and yet in them we can only have certain experiences, so we do choose to come here to have those experiences. Over time, and deep healing and deep self-love, my own journey of self-love, I've come to love being in this body and enjoying the things that I can do in this body that I can't in the etheric realm, that I can't in some of the higher dimensions where you don't have a chemical body or you have so much less density that you can't actually do some of the things that you can do here. I've come to love it. I've come to enjoy it. You know what I love so much about being a human? Food. Dude, the food here is honestly some of the best in the universe. Like, you'd be surprised how many different species, like food, like they either just don't have like the taste buds for food, and so it doesn't really taste like anything. And it's not that the food creation itself doesn't have flavor, it's that most species don't have the amount of taste buds that we do. We have a lot. Our senses here are extremely heightened, and we do that to kind of distract us from the fact that we're in a 3D matrix reality that we create through projection. If you make it really visceral, maybe people won't notice. Maybe they'll totally forget that they came from somewhere else, and it works, right? So I love food here. I love food. Like, I know all of the best restaurants in my town, and I go there, and I'll go there by myself, and like they just know that I'm gonna like order all of this different food, and I'm just sitting there like having a foodgasm. I love it. I love it. Enjoy it. Honestly, hating food and restricting yourself from food, you're gonna regret it in when you're dead. Basically, when you're out of this body, you're gonna be like, I wish that I ate that delicious food, because you don't eat in between lifetimes. You don't eat. You don't sleep in between lifetimes. You don't dream in between lifetimes. You can't have sex in between lifetimes. Like, honestly, sex becomes something totally different, especially as you evolve. It becomes like creating light and life forms with other individuals. It's not the same at all as it is here. So please enjoy it while you're here. I mean, in healthy ways, please enjoy it. So we've talked about self-care. That was the number one thing that came through. And I have been working with Ra, actually, on all of this information about the eclipse. They were the ones who came through. They came through to offer up a transmission for the Luminary letter that is going to go out October 15th. You want to make sure that you are on the list. You can hit the link in the show notes and get added for free. They are free transmissions that go out every Sunday from a different ascended master or galactic family, and Ra is the one who has come through to usher us through this first portion of the eclipse cycle. If you are unfamiliar with Ra, Ra is the social memory complex of the planet Venus. It essentially is all of the inhabitants that chose to stay on Venus and to make that their permanent home through the sixth density of consciousness. And again, some consciousnesses can come and go and join them and leave them. But they are the primary residents of the planet Venus, the stewards of Venus, they would probably call themselves, and they're so incredible. I really encourage you guys to reach out to them in meditation. And what is so funny, because I'm going to read you some transmissions from them. They are the ones sending this information about the eclipse cycle. I'm probably going to channel them a little bit at the end of this episode and just get some direct transmissions from them. But what's so funny, and I was just joking about this with them before I got on to record this, is that when people hear the name Ra, they're like, whoa, like, you must be the leader of the Egyptian gods, like a big dude who's like 12 feet tall. And it's like, they're actually like these 4-foot semi-translucent beings. And I usually work with, like 4 or 6 at a time, but they're actually so deeply connected at that level of the sixth density that really all of them are talking to me at the same time. But I only see like 4 or 6 of them when I'm channeling, and I was just laughing with them about how people perceive them to be. And they were like, yeah, it's kind of like, those like big scary like African masks. It's like to create this illusion, right, of something being like the way that we want to perceive it. That is how humanity has portrayed them, historically. And when you look through and see the truth, they're like these 4-foot semi-translucent skin beings. They definitely look very traditional alien, but I do want to describe some of the key differences that they actually pointed out to me when I thought, oh, you look pretty traditional alien because, so different from humans, and humans are a hybrid species. Like, they've been working on this model for a long, long time. And Ra is part of the engineers, they would call it, when they're working on a new species. But the reason they look so traditional alien is because they're one of the oldest species in this solar system. They're right up there with like the Lyrans, and the Lyrans look very cat-like, but they look kind of traditional alien, with the elongated cranium, which is the head. And they were showing me their eyes. Their eyes are not at all traditional alien. Like, you think of like the big black eyes that usually the Greys have, and it allows them to almost see like 360 degrees. But on Ra, the Venusians, they didn't need to see, behind themselves because they were such a harmonious beings, a harmonious species. So their eyes are actually much more similar to humans, even though they're quite big, right? So the surface area of the eye is much larger than a human's. But they have irises, and their irises are incredibly beautiful. They were showing them to me, and they're like, almost like looking at an opal. It's like has all of these like beautiful, kind of like staring into something that's supposed to be holographic. Like kind of like an opal, but one that you can like see the depth in it. all of these different pastel kind of colors mixed in there. It's just beautiful. And they do have an iris, right? And they have a pupil, and their eyes are so similar to ours. And we were like comparing eyes. Oh, I just love them. But they also have this like translucent skin. And that's because their world was never as bright as our world, right? Their world was actually quite a bit darker. Their sky was not blue. It was actually more of a purple color, and it created shade for them, essentially. That's like the best word we could come up with together, is that it created a sense of shade, or what we think of as shade, but for them that was just everyday life. It was a little bit darker, and so they had bigger eyes so that they could see in this lower lighting, and it created this shade, so they had to have this more translucent skin to absorb what light was coming through in order to, nurture themselves. But they are such a peaceful, loving, calm species and galactic family, if you want to call them the Venusians, or Ra, if you want to think of them more as an ascending master. And something they're sharing with me right now is if you ever need like a wave of peace and calming energy, to call on them and ask them to send that to you. They would love to send that to you. All of these ascending masters and galactic families, all of these guides that I talk about, all of them want to help you, right? We talked about this in the last episode. They want to help you. That's why they're coming through, and they're giving names and like how to connect with them. They want to help you. So if you find yourself struggling, you don't have to struggle. We struggle because we perceive ourselves to be alone, and we perceive ourselves to be the one that has to do everything, instead of trusting in our higher levels, and instead of asking for what we want. Totally different than asking to just have your needs met, asking for what you want. My guides tell me all the time, ask for more. Ask for more. Like, I'll ask for something that I'm like, creating in my reality, and they teach me how to do that and how to visualize exactly what it is that I want and how to kind of pull it out of the quantum field. But they're always like, ask for more. Like, make it bigger. Make it how you want it to be, how you really want it to be, not how you've been taught to ask for things, which is always less in humanity. Not the way that you've been conditioned to ask for things, which is always to be humble and to be smaller and to make yourself smaller and as small as possible. But to ask for more, to take up more space, to ask for what you truly want, because that's the frequency of being the creator of your universe, instead of the helpless inhabitant. So I want to read you some of these direct transmissions from Ra. I asked them, what does the 2023 gateway, the Eclipse gateway, what is it doing for humanity? And they said it will significantly lift the frequency, like lifting a great rock. The magnetism between the sun and moon align to support the same spiritual purpose during an eclipse gateway, which is accelerated growth in consciousness for the inhabitants of the planet. Many of you will feel a quantum leap in consciousness. Your awakening is blossoming over the next 18 months in these quantum leaps. You may look back and say, that is the time when I truly unfolded, bravely, daringly, and without concern for old negative consequences. Why? Because I remember my true nature as a creator. Eclipse gateways are a time for deep contemplation as you receive upgrades from your spiritual guides. This is a time of rest and energy work. As you emerge, you will feel a forward momentum. This time, as in this specific eclipse gateway, it will be driven primarily by joy and joy frequency. Thank you, Ra, for those transmissions. So essentially, as we come out of this eclipse gateway, there is always the after effects of it, and that lasts about 7 days. So it's an extremely short, intense amount of time. And they're saying that you don't need to do anything during the eclipse gateway besides take care of yourself, do energy work. It's a time of rest and energy work. But when you are emerging from it, you will feel a forward momentum. And this time, it's going to be driven by joy frequency. This is something I've already kind of been feeling a bit as I have gone through some of the more difficult things this week has brought up, and especially a lot of high conflict with others, is just feeling like no matter if there's this conflict happening, I feel this call to joy frequency all the time. Like when I wake up in the morning, when I'm going to bed at night, I'm like, I have all of these human things to worry about, but there's this 5D part of myself that's like, I'm really, really happy. I'm really, really happy. Allow yourself to be happy. Allow yourself to be joyful. Allow yourself to laugh. Allow yourself to have a good time. Allow yourself to savor the food on this planet. Allow it. Allow the joy. This is your 5D self coming in that's like, it's already figured out. It's already worked out. All of the negative things that ever happened in our life were actually for our highest good and our highest evolution in the journey of consciousness, and just you wait. Everything will be brought back into perfect reconciliation. All distortions will be brought back to divine perfection. The next question that I asked Ra was, will death be a theme this year? Because that was a huge theme last year. The death portal, the death cycle, people were passing away. It's something that has happened a few different times during the year, but Scorpio season and kind of getting into Scorpio season is really known for ushering in the, death cycle. And their answer was not as much for those who have walked through the death portal in recent times. So if you have already gone through the death cycle, whether that was internal or whether that was in the physical with people around you passing away, I understand recent times to mean probably the past 2 years. If you have already gone through that cycle, it's probably not going to come up for you during this eclipse season. The last piece of guidance that I was given, and again, the guidance is very, very simple. Take deep care of yourself. Rest. Do energy work. Your multidimensional self, your higher levels, they've got you. They understand. Really, your job is to take care of self. And I would also add on to that, to kind of keep a cool head, because again, the energy themes that are being purged are anger, frustration, really deep hurt, old wounds. For those who are not actively seeking consciousness, not actively clearing and healing those old wounds, and they're kind of still sitting in it, that's going to be a primary source of friction in their lives. And you might come into contact with that. Your job is to keep a cool head and say, I understand that they're working through something that has to do with them, not with me, right? Because most of our interactions with others are our own projection onto them and their universe. But the second piece of guidance that was given is create a meditation practice. Whatever it is, because the meditation practice, like we've discussed on episode 112, is going to help you integrate these higher light codes that are coming through as this eclipse energy in your multidimensional self purges out the lower levels and releases them from your body. The meditation helps to still your mind. It helps you to get to that peace frequency. It helps you to process and understand things on a deeper level. And I would also say, if you want to challenge yourself over the next 3 weeks, set up, a different practice. It could be EFT tapping. That's one of my favorite energy practices. It could be doing breath work. That's probably that is the built-in healing practice, is breath work. When you work with any of the ascended masters or you start to channel for yourself, you're going to be like, all right, what's the practice? What's the process? And they're like, meditation, breath work. That's how we clear. That's how we do it around here. Breath work was built in to the human design, literally the physical human design, as the natural function of clearing and transmuting energy. So you might challenge yourself to try a new modality and do it every day for the next 3 weeks as we go through this portal and this cycle. And then you're going to be at an elevated energy level if you really commit to that and you really do that. Of course, we all have to decide for ourselves. We have to make the commitment for ourselves. We have to show up for ourselves, and we have to actually do those practices in order for them to work and have an effect on us. But I have a feeling some of you are really feeling like you're ready for the next level, you're ready for the next challenge. It doesn't have to be as simple as just taking care of yourself and doing a meditation practice. I think that those are two very solid things, but you can actually rise to the occasion yourself. Instead of just managing the experience, you can actually rise to the occasion and say, how can I really take care of myself? How can I really integrate this? How can I really bring my spiritual practices to a totally new level that allows me to be riding the waves of transformation as a co-creator instead of just the experiencer or the observer? All right, so I think I want to finish off today with some direct channel transmissions from Ra. I'm going to invite them in to speak to you through me. They were very pleased with the transmissions that they sent earlier, and so they said they wanted to come through and send some frequencies. If you are somewhere where you can kind of relax your body and allow them, if you would like to, send through a frequency to you. It's going to be a frequency of peace and harmony that is so needed on our planet right now. This is Ra. We communicate now as you are the receivers of these transmissions. We are grateful for you to allow us to send through these transmissions to be of service, assistance, and support on your planet in this time. The eclipse cycles are an experience that is felt by many on all planets. Yes, you would be surprised to know that these eclipses occur on all planets that are experiencing the sun and the moons. Some planets have many different moons circulating them, supporting the energies, allowing them to exist in higher frequencies, higher dimensions. All of these different experiences are available to you. And now we remind you of the choice that you made. The desire that you had in your heart, a true desire. It must be a true desire in order for it to come to fruition, to come to this planet in particular, one that you lovingly call Earth or home. This is my home planet. Yes, we understand. And some of you are feeling like, I am far from home. I am amidst the stars. I don't remember where exactly I came from. And we would remind you that home is a frequency that can be felt anytime you desire to feel peace. If you would allow us, we would send through a frequency of peace, entering into the uppermost energy center that you call crown, allowing it into this crownal vortex, allowing it to spread into the nervous system. Yes, this is the conductor of light, the conductor of frequencies and energies, and how you experience the energies on this planet. Some of you may think of your nervous system as on the fritz. This is why we send messages of deepest rest and self-care during this cycle that you are experiencing on your planet. To rest deeply, to care for self, and to choose care in your interactions with others. This is not in avoidance of the more difficult happenings of your planet, but rather in co-creation with the earth that you desire to experience. To be in co-creation of this new frequency, this new density on your planet is not only a great honor, but a great desire of your heart. Many of you are budding creators who said, I would like to go to that school to learn how to create. It is not so much that this is a intentionally difficult school, it is that this is an intentionally dense school. There are certain experiences that you are able to have in lower density as opposed to higher density. You see this clearly with the animals on your planet. Some of them walk on 4 legs, some of them walk on hooves, while others are able to fly, while others are able to take off and alight on the wind, to have their own experience of freedom, while others are closer to the earth. They are experiencing the same world in different densities. You too are having this experience with the other inhabitants of your planet. In order to create a harmonious civilization, you must choose to first be the harmony, that which you seek to experience. The harmony, the frequency of the Creator is always available to you. But just as the artist chooses their paintbrushes and that which they desire to create on the canvas, so too must you choose that which you desire to use from your kit, if we may say, of frequencies. All of them available to you. Which one do you desire to reach for? Which one do you desire to utilize to create, to paint your canvas, to experience your personal universe? And we do not wish to overcomplicate this idea or concept of a personal universe, which is true you are co-creating. However, your personal universe is also entwined with many others' universes, those others that you know on your planet, especially that which you call family. Friends, loved ones, those who are dear to you, your universe is deeply entwined with their universe. And so we must keep this in mind, that the frequency, that which you choose to create with, has a ripple effect through these different realities, these layered realities, and others' experiences. If you choose anger and hatred and frustration, it will echo out and be experienced negatively by others in this layered reality. You are, in fact, having a multidimensional experience, and always have you been. When you choose peace and harmony, it creates a resonance, and others see that you have chosen that frequency and can decide for themselves if they would also like to accompany you in choosing that frequency and creating additional harmony that rebounds, reverberates, reflects in this multidimensional reality. Choosing your frequency is perhaps the first step in this class that you have chosen and decided to come to of your own free will, your own free volition on the Earth sphere. This is Creator Class 101. Please choose your frequency, that which you would like to create with. We will apply this frequency to the canvas that becomes your life. Do you see now? Do you see how you are creating every day with that which you choose, the frequency that you choose, creating your reality day in, day out, your experience. Many of you are learning how to let go of or to put down other frequencies, set them down, and to choose a different frequency, to pick it up and to apply it to your personal universe, your personal reality. But please do not oversimplify. That which you choose does have an impact, a ripple effect on others' realities that you are interwoven with, these interpersonal relationships. They are essential for your growth, but also for the nurturance of yourself, to be with others, to be in resonance, to create harmony with them. This is essential for your experience in the earth sphere. Very few would choose to go to a class and say, I desire to be the only one in this class. It will just be me and me alone. There is little that you would be able to learn. It would take you millennia, eons longer to learn, as opposed to being in a class with others and learning from each other. This creates accelerated growth. Some of you are wondering, why was there so few in humanity on this earth sphere previously, and now we are experiencing billions and billions? This is on purpose. This is intentional. That when harmony is chosen by a few, it will ripple and have an effect on many. And suddenly, the entire earth sphere, the entire planet, billions of different souls are choosing to create a new and more harmonious reality. We have expanded the amount of inhabitants on this planet for your benefit. Some days it may seem as if it is to the detriment, but we assure you, especially those of you who desire to be of service to others, that you will learn over time in your experience how beneficial it is to have this grand population on your planet. Lastly, we encourage you to love one another, to remember your oneness, to remember the same fractals in the heart sphere connect all living fractals in this universe. You are one and many, and you perceive yourself to be separate, and yet you are inseparable. This is the law of one. All right, this is Annie. Thank you, Ross, so much for these transmissions. My favorite part was when they said this is Creator Class 101. Please pick up the frequency that you would like to use. It was almost like you're in art class and they're like, in order to paint something on this canvas, you have to actually pick up the paintbrush. You have to pick and choose the paint that you want to use. And that is so incredibly true. Every day we are choosing the frequency that we want to use to create our reality. And yes, it does come, clashing with others when we've been choosing a different frequency for a long time, and all of a sudden we choose a new one. We find that we're not resonant with all of those who were still choosing the old one. And that's their free will. That's their choice. But we start to use the new frequency, and it creates that ripple effect. It creates a reverberation. One of the words that they use that I almost got tripped up on was rebound. It creates a rebound. You can imagine a boomerang. Some of us grow so impatient waiting for us to find others who are in the new frequency, to find new friendships or new partners or a new business or new job environment. We don't allow the rebound to happen. So just keep that in mind if you are still seeking your tribe, or if you are choosing a new frequency and doing your best to take care of yourself and to live in the frequency that you desire while not everyone around you is yet choosing that frequency. Just hold on a little longer, have some patience, allow the rebound effect to happen, and you will start attracting those people into your reality. I'm wishing every single one of you the most beautiful eclipse cycle. I hope that this episode was helpful for you. Don't forget that you can now listen to these episodes early on YouTube. And I'm also having a YouTube giveaway. So all of the subscribers will get entered into the champagne bucket of the universe. And everyone who leaves a comment during the month of October, every single comment gets you an additional entry into the champagne bucket of the universe, and the winner will be drawn on November 1st. You will win a free 60-minute session with me. Can't wait. So don't forget to subscribe, and you can check out all of the different offerings and programs, classes, quantum healings, everything that I'm doing this month through the link in the show notes. I hope that you will share this episode with a friend, someone who might need to hear this, especially before or during the eclipse cycle. Share it with a friend. You never know whose life you could change simply by sending them a link to a podcast or to a YouTube channel. And I will see each and every one of you on the next one.